Oh my, that was an interesting PMQs. Keir Starmer having to announce a U-turn over Labour's disastrous winter fuel payment policy. This, by the way, was a flagship policy of Labour and its Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, who announced this policy within weeks of taking office. So, be under no illusion, this will be a humiliating experience for Rachel Reeves, and one that will leave her with little remaining credibility, either with the markets or the voters. And if Starmer could move her, get rid of her, he would. But most interesting was when Kemi Badenoch pushed Starmer on whether there would be tax increases in reference to that leaked document by Angela Rayner, and he wouldn't answer. This means there will be. More importantly, it shows the left of the Labour Party is on the march, pushing for more reverses in those spending cuts, namely the £5 billion benefits cut, meaning there will be more taxes on savers and on pensioners. So some pensioners might get their winter fuel allowance back, but trust me, pensioners will continue to feel the pain as Starmer increases taxes and goes after savers.
In a bruising Prime Minister's question session that saw Sir Keir Starmer wobble on a key cost of living pledge, it was Conservative MP and Cabinet Office Minister Esther McVey who landed perhaps the most sting political blow of the afternoon. The focus was Labour's controversial winter fuel policy, a scheme that has drawn criticism from pensioner groups and energy campaigners alike for its perceived inadequacy in the face of soaring energy bills. Starmer, under pressure, appeared to signal a partial retreat from the original plan, hinting at revisions without committing to specifics. But it was what he didn't say that sparked the most speculation. McVey seized the moment with characteristic precision. Citing the now infamous leaked memo attributed to Labour's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, which reportedly outlines internal discussions about funding pressures and potential tax rises, McVey zeroed in on the heart of the matter. How exactly does Labour plan to pay for this U-turn? Starmer's response: evasive at best. He sidestepped the question of looming tax increases, pivoting instead to vague assurances about fiscal responsibility and supporting those in need. But the omission spoke volumes. In Westminster, silence can be just as damning as admission, and Starmer's reluctance to rule out further tax hikes has left many wondering if Labour is preparing the ground for a post-election tax raid on middle-income earners. McVey's intervention reflects a broader Conservative strategy heading into the next election. Paint Labour as economically incoherent, beholden to internal factions, and incapable of squaring policy ambition with fiscal reality. And with Starmer already facing scrutiny over Labour's spending plans, from green investment delays to NHS reforms, his POMK's performance offered little reassurance to the electorate. But it's not just the Tories watching with interest. Within Labour's own ranks, the Rayner document leak has reignited tensions between the party's moderate leadership and its more radical grassroots, many of whom are demanding bold interventionist policies regardless of the fiscal cost. In that context, McVey's line of questioning didn't just put Starmer on the back foot. It laid bare the tightrope he is walking. How to appear economically responsible to swing voters while placating a party base hungry for transformative change. It's a balancing act that may define the coming months. And if today's exchange is any indication, Labour's economic credibility will be tested again and again, especially if figures like Esther McVey continue to press the opposition with this level of sharp political instinct. As the session wrapped, one thing became clear. Starmer's cautious approach might spare him a headline today, but it risks creating a vacuum tomorrow. In British politics, a vacuum doesn't stay empty for long. McVey, for one, seems more than willing to fill it.
Evening, Kevin. You well?
I'm very well. Lisa Nandy, people say that she's lazy, she hasn't done any work. Now, I wouldn't know about that, and I'm sure she denies it. They say she only puts in a couple of days a week, maybe 3 at best. Now, I'm sure, again, she probably denies that. But my question would be, what is it that she does do? What does she do? What does the Culture Secretary actually do? I can't see any evidence at all of her doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number we could level that accusation. Some maybe are doing too much. They're drunk on power. But what we have, Lisa Nandy's a perfect example. Someone who's been over-promoted and gives off a vibe of an apprentice candidate who'd be sacked in the early stages. I mean,
you're fired.
Yeah. Well, I think she's going to end up that way, and I think others will follow, because look at the poll ratings of Labour. It's not just one thing, it's a number of things. The public have completely lost trust in them. We could go on all day about the reasons why, but one of those reasons is, quite frankly, the front bench is lightweight. I mean,
Yes.
Look at them all. I mean, Miliband, Angela Rayner, David Lammy, Lisa Nandy. I mean, we need better than this. But then, the last government were the same as well. I mean, maybe I'm getting old here, but I remember politicians, whether you agreed with them or not, back in the 80s and 90s, who actually stood for something. They were intellectually sound and they were masters of their brief. Now we have a bunch of politicians who look like they're, quite frankly, on a reality TV show. There's a second point regarding that department. I think there is a need for that, because I think a crucial part of our cultural identity and moving forward is things like art and culture. I would, however, separate sport out. I think sport should go into a separate department, but it's about sport, lifestyle, fitness, nutrition, and so on. I think maybe it's time to separate them out, but to get rid of it completely, I don't think that's a good idea. But maybe getting rid of Lisa Nandy might be a good.
In a fiery, on-air discussion that lit up talk radio and social media alike, commentator James Melville didn't hold back as he tore into what he called the horrendous Labour government, accusing its cabinet of being unfit to govern and likening ministers to second-rate reality TV contestants. Speaking with Talk TV host Kevin O'Sullivan, Melville launched into a scathing critique of Labour's top team, branding them lightweight, inept, and drunk on power. A stinging indictment aimed squarely at a government he believes is already buckling under the weight of its own incompetence. The comparison wasn't far off the mark. Melville painted Starmer as a leader increasingly detached from both his party's grassroots and the country's mood. Starmer acts like a man obsessed with optics, he argued. He's more focused on staging slick press conferences than solving the spiraling crises in public services, energy, or the economy. The debate is unlikely to go unnoticed in Westminster, where even Labour insiders are beginning to acknowledge the growing unease over the government's performance. As the honeymoon fades and scrutiny intensifies, Starmer and his team may find that the public and commentators like Melville are less forgiving than they'd hoped. For now, though, the takeaway is blunt. In the eyes of critics like James Melville, Labour's cabinet isn't leading Britain. It's auditioning, and they're failing the screen test. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a comment below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more sharp political commentary. Want to join the conversation? Follow us on Telegram? Link in the description.